So question 14. Question 14 is about your asset beta, equity beta, it's about re-gearing, right? Ungear, re-gear. So you have to be very good with your re-gearing, ungearing, right? Equity beta, asset beta, and all those things. And also we are going to cover value at risk at 95% and 99% confidence level, right? So now let's go through the requirement first. So the requirement is first, provide a reasoned estimate of the cost of capital that Disca company should use to discount the net present value of the two process. So you're given the two process, right? And for both the process, you need to find what is the cost of capital to calculate the net present value, right? So basically estimate the cost of capital. For this, basically it's VAC calculations you have to do. You have to re-gear, ungear, asset beta, equity beta. You have to find all those steps. Next, IRR and MIRR. Calculate for the process omega. So for only one process, you need to calculate IRR and MIRR for omega. IRR and MIRR for zeta is given as 26.6 and 23.3%. Okay. And recommend which process, if any, they should take. They should proceed with an explain your recommendation. So you have to explain your recommendation, which process they should go with. C. Alpha has estimated. Alpha company is a company which is similar to Tisca company. For using our asset beta and all, we need that company, right? A proxy company similar to Tisca company. So Alpha company is one. Has estimated an annual standard deviation 800,000 on one of its other projects based on normal distribution of returns. The average annual return on this project is 2.2 million. So this is the average return, annual return, and this is the standard deviation. Now, based on this, you are required to do two things, right? C, estimate the value at risk at 99% confidence level for 1 year and over project's life of 5 years. Explain what is meant by the answers obtained. So it's just not important for you to do your calculations, but you need to explain what the answer means. So VAT at 99% and also for 1 year and for 5 years. Okay, and explain what it means. Second, apart from the use of value at risk, briefly explain methods that LFO can use to deal with risk and uncertainty in investment at present and their drawbacks. So you need to talk about risk and uncertainty and their drawbacks. It's for 5 marks, right? So quickly we'll go through the case study. The case study starts with Tisco is considering an opportunity to produce an innovative component which then fitted into motor vehicle engine will enable them to utilize fuel more efficiently. The component can be manufactured using either Omega or Zeta. Although this is an entirely new line of business for Tisca, it is of the opinion that developing either process over a period of 4 years and then selling the production rights at the end of the 4 years to another company may prove lucrative. So after tax annual cash flows for both processes has been given. Tisca has 10 million 50 cents trading at 180 cents, right? This is giving you the share value for your equity part, which you need to calculate. Its loan have a current market value of 3.6 million and an average after tax cost of debt. So this is given for you to calculate your debt, proportion of your debt, and the value of your debt also, right? After tax cost of debt. Tisca's capital structure is unlikely to change significantly following the investment in either process. So you can use this structure, capital structure, right? So L4. L4 manufactures electronic parts for cars, including production of a component similar to one being considered by Tisca. L4 company's equity beta is 1.4. L4's equity beta is 1.4 and is estimated that the equivalent equity beta for its other activities, excluding the component production, is 1.25. So this 1.25 is other for other activities. Okay, out of this 1.4. Okay, L4 company has 400 million 25 shares in issue trading at 120 each. Of course, you need that company's capital structure as well, right? Because based on that capital structure, first you need to find the capital structure, the equity beta of what? Equity beta of the component part. You are only given the equity beta of other activities, which is 1.25, but you need to find the equity beta of what? Of the component, because that component only Tisca is using. right? So for that you need the capital structure of L4. So for that's why they have given you the share, and also they have given you the debt. So it's a debt finance consists of variable rate loans redeemable in 7 years. The loan paying interest at a base rate plus 120 basis point, have a current value of 96 million, base rate plus 120 basis point. It can be assumed that 80% of alpha companies debt finance and 75% alpha companies equity finance can be attributed to other activities excluding the component production. So 80% is debt finance, 75% in equity finance, other activities. Okay, no component production is there, so you know how to find for the component production. The balance is the component production. Both companies pay annual corporation tax at 25%. So tax is 25% for both Elfo and Tisco. Tisa, sorry, Tisa. The current base rate is 3.5%. You have been given the current base rate, and the market risk premium is 5.8%. Now you have to find the cost of capital, right? So we'll see how the answer is given. This is the marking scheme. Before we go to the marking scheme, first we'll do all the calculations and then we'll take you to the marking scheme. So part A, use the information for L4 company. That is your first step. Whenever you have to find a cost of capital in this kind of question where you need to use another, first thing is you need to use the other company, the similar companies equity beta you have to get. Okay, so use the information for L4 company. First step is that to estimate the component project's asset beta. You have to find the asset beta. Your job is from that company, which company? Similar company, right? Similar company in your paper, whenever you are given an organization, there will be a similar company. From that company, you have to extract, you have to get out what asset beta to apply in your capital structure and get the equity beta, right? We have been given the equity beta of L4, but only for other activities. We want for component part separately. Just for the component part we want to take, right? So then use TISA company's capital structure to estimate the project's equity beta and WACC. Yes, using TISA's capital structure, after you get that asset beta, you have to find equity beta and then WACC. But that is the last step. First, we have to work with L4. Now forget about TISA. First, we have to work with L4 first. There are so many things to work in the L4 company first before we can take the asset beta for the TISA, right? It is assumed that the beta of debt is 0. So this line, whether they tell it or not, right? It is assumed only that beta of debt is 0. Even if they tell in the question or not, you have to assume it like that. So now starting with L4 company. L4 company will go to L4 company. Okay, they are saying first we'll find the market value of equity, market value of debt. For whom? For L4 company. So L4 company, if you see, right, it's L4 company has 425 million shares trading at 120 cents. That means 400 divided by 25, right, into 120. No. 400 billion 25 cents in issue trading at 120 each. So 400, sorry, 400 into, it is already given as a number of shares. So that 400 into 1.2, 120 cents, right? So that's why this is 400 into 1.2. You're getting the share. Market value of equity. Now market value of debt is already given to you as 96. For that you don't have to work. I have underlined here also this 96, right? Have a current value of 96. So it is given as 96 here. Now let's go to find the alpha company's purchase asset beta. How are we getting that asset beta? First, we are finding the asset beta overall, the whole, right? We are not dividing it into other component or other activities, right? Component part or other activities, we are finding the whole. We are just given one equity beta in the beginning of alpha, right? We are using this equity beta, this 1.40 to get the asset beta first, right? That 1.4 we are using, right? So now we know the formula of this one. I hope I don't have to write the formula down here. You can check it, or you must be knowing it by now, right? What is the formula for asset beta? So the proportion of your equity will be on the top. That's why it's 1.4 equity beta multiplied by 480, because this is the market value of equity divided by market value of equity plus market value of debt. So here market value of equity is 480, and this whole portion is market value of debt. This is E. I'm writing this is D, and this is E, and this is equity beta. I'm writing equity beta. So equity beta multiplied by value of equity divided by market value of equity plus market value of debt. That is the formula. So market value of debt 96 multiplied by, this is 96 is before tax. You need to take after tax. Tax is 25%. That's why after tax it will be into 0.75. So here it is your asset beta, right? What do you have to do next? Next step. Okay, this 1, 2, 3, all of this step has to be there in your answer. It needs to follow a pattern. It has to be in that order only. You cannot change the order, right? You cannot do one before the other. It has to be in that order only, because you will be using the number in the from the previous step. You'll be, when you do the working, the more you go downwards, you will be using to calculate that. You need the answer from the previous workings. Let's say you want to find the asset beta of L4. You cannot find the asset beta of L4 if you don't find the market value of equity and debt. So finding the market value of equity and debt is your first and second step. Then only you can find the asset beta. So now let's go. We know that there has been two parts. One is component, one is other activities. We need to divide it, right? That asset beta compromises both component and this one. We need to find for only component part. So L4 company's asset beta of other activities, right? That we can find out because we have been given the equity beta of other activities. Just check here. If you try to find the asset beta of component activities or component part, you will not be able to solve it. This is the mistake where you do. You should know what step comes after what. If you don't know that, you know, you will just struggle and you will not come up with anything, because you are not given the component equity beta. So it is impossible that you can work out the component asset beta. You need one of the two to work out. So you have the equity beta of L4. Using that, you can find the L4's asset beta, right? So equity beta of L4 was 1.25, right? Multiply by 360. What is this 360? What is this 360? Okay. Value of equity. How value of equity we got? Because we have been told here that 80% of L4's debt finance and 75% of L4's equity finance can be contributed to other activities. So that means you have to take 75% of what? Of 480. Find 75% of 480. It is 360. Right, and 80% of debt is for other activities. That means that out of that 96, 80% is for other activities. This is 76.8, right? Hence this rest all, and you will be getting 1.078. 1.078. And make sure one thing, there is a way of checking whether your asset beta or equity beta, whatever you're finding, is correct or not. Okay, the rule is this: your equity beta, this if you remember, that's enough. Your equity beta will always be greater than your asset beta. Under no condition your equity beta can be less than your asset beta. First you have to compare that. Your equity beta will always be more than your asset beta, right? Just check here. This is your equity beta. What is this? This is your asset beta. Your equity beta was 1.4. Asset beta is 1.217. It is less. It has to be less. So that means you are correct. I'm not saying that you will be correct 100%. Why? Because you can make arithmetical mistakes, right? Calculation mistakes you can make. Your number might be wrong. That's okay. There you can lose marks, okay? But the thing I'm trying to say is your equity beta, let's say now your asset beta is 1.8 and equity beta is 1.4. 100% it's wrong. Something is wrong there. So that way at least you can check. right? So of course for other activities, right, asset beta, your asset beta here it is 1.217. For other activities it will be less than that, because that 1.217 is the overall asset beta. It includes both other activities and component, right? Now let's go to the using this asset beta. What asset beta? Other activities asset beta, we can find the component asset beta, right? Because we are given the proportion. Just check here. Okay. How can we get the proportion? Hmm? How can we get that proportion? Just check here. If you see here properly, we are having component asset beta into 0.25 plus asset beta, other activities asset beta into 0.75. And this will be equal to 1.217. This 1.27 is this one, this asset beta, the right? So component asset beta, that means proportion of this is 25% and here it is 75%, the other activities. So asset beta of other activities multiplied by 0.75, that means 75%, 25% multiplied by component asset beta. And by shifting, like making component asset beta the subject, you are getting this asset beta of component 1.634, right? You can find the component asset beta. But my question is, how did you get this and how did you get this? How do you know that percentage? That it is 75 and 25 only. Okay, I'm giving you 2 minutes. Work out. Work out. Okay. It will be somewhere from here that you will be able to get it. Right? Okay. So read this line again. Right? This is not clear cut. Here they are saying it can be assumed that 80% of L4 companies debt finance and 75% of L4 companies equity finance can be attributed to other activities. So this 75% you are taking from here. You are taking the equity part. You are not taking the debt part now. Debt finance. Well, I'll tell you why. So you are taking this 75%. So 75% to other activities means the equity portion means 25% will be to the component part, the balance. So that's how you are getting here 0.25, that is the component, and asset beta this one. Why? Because for finding the asset beta, you need the equity. Only the equity part you need, the proportion of equity. You don't need your debt here. You need a proportion of equity, right? So that's how you get this, and then by changing you get this asset beta. And now what happens? Component equity beta based on Tisco company's asset capital structure. What was your first thing? You have to get the asset beta, component asset beta. This you have to get. Once you get this, next is component equity beta. How can you get the component equity beta? Again, regear. This is known as regearing. Put this in the capital structure of Tisca, right? So you are getting this asset beta. Bring it here. Formula for asset beta is asset beta multiply by reciprocal now. First we multiplied by equity, divide by equity plus debt. This time asset beta multiply by equity plus debt over equity. So your equity, what is your equity? Whose equity? Don't go up and take Alpha company's equity. This is the mistake we are doing. This is Tisa company. Please go to Tisa company's equity. Tisa company is here. We have been given in the first line itself 10 million 50 cents trading at 180 each. That means 10 into 18. Sorry, 10 into 1.8. That is 18. 18 is the equity part, and debt is 3.6. Current value 3.6 million. Right, so we have that is Tisca company that you have to use. So that's why your equity is 18 plus 3.6 is your debt, multiply by 75 because after tax, divide by 18 because equity is 18. So multiply this by asset beta and get your equity beta. Your equity beta has to be more. Just check your equity beta is more than asset beta. That's correct, technically it's correct. Now this equity beta 1.879, put it in your CAPM model and find your cost of equity. So 1.875 into 5.8 and plus 3.5%. Why 5.8? Because market risk premium is 5.8 and plus 3.5% because this is the, they didn't tell risk-free rate return here this time if you go and check. Here they have told something else. Current base rate is 3.5%. Right? Current base rate and the market risk premium. So using that you are getting 14.4 as cost of equity. Now we know the cost of debt, it is already given as after tax cost of debt you are given, and also now we found cost of equity. We know the proportion of equity and debt. So now what else to do? Use find it and calculate WACC. So 14.4, that's your cost of equity, multiply by 18 because in Tisa company equity proportion of equity is 18 plus 4.575%. This you have been given in the question. After tax cost of debt, multiply by your debt which is 3.6, right? Divide the whole thing by value of equity plus value of debt, that is 18 plus 3.6. This is, and by the way, one thing you should not do here is one mistake. What do you, most of the candidates, because we have memorized the formula that WACC is cost of debt into value of debt into 1 minus tax rate. So don't go and adjust for tax again here. Why? Don't multiply by 0.75 because this 4.5%, this is after tax cost of debt. You have to check whether your cost of debt is pre-tax or post-tax. If it is after tax or post-tax, no need to worry about tax. But if it is pre-tax or before tax, then you have to adjust for tax. I will tell you here. Just will go up and check again what they have told. They have told that after tax cost of debt is 4.5%. No need to adjust it for tax. It is already adjusted for tax. So you are just multiplying it with the debt, value of debt. That's it. And you are getting 12.75. Whenever you get 12.75 or 12.8 or 12.4, please round up. Right? So they are rounding up to 13%. Round up. It's easier to work that way. Right? So now that's what we have to find. We were supposed to find back 13% we got. So A part is done. B part, now we have to do what? You have to use IRR. Right? How are we going to use IRR? How are we going to start? We only have to find IRR and MIRR for one process, that is omega. For zeta, it has been given to you. So don't go and calculate zetas, IRR and MIRR again. Right? Now, let's go through this. So discount factor, whenever you have been after calculating back or cost of capital. Whenever you're told to calculate IRR, right, or MIRR, you first have to use the discount rate. You can use the discount rate here, the discount rate which you have just calculated. This will be your first discount rate to find IRR, right? And this cash flows is given to you. From there itself you can copy paste, and then discount factor discount, you see that you are getting a positive present value, net present value. What do you have to do when you're getting a positive net present value? You should take a higher discount than 13% or lower discount rate. You should take a higher discount rate whenever you're getting a positive. So you are taking here 20%. It can be any figure. You can take any, you can even take 14% also, doesn't matter, right? Even if it's not negative, it's not turning to negative, it's okay, but it should be high, something higher than 13%, right? We just need another discount factor just to do our interpolation and find IRR. We don't need an exact number that it has to be this only. They took 20%, you can work 14% also and find out IRR. That's absolutely all right. But whatever you do, IRR you will get around 25.6% only. Somewhere near there only you will get. So the number discount factor which you use does not matter. But the first discount rate, the deciding discount rate which you have to use the one which you have calculated. So in this case, it is 13%. So using 20% discount rate, we saw that we are getting a positive net present value. We are not getting a negative. It's okay. Don't panic. So IRR, use the formula of IRR 13% because that is the lower discount rate plus under the lower discount rate the present value is 1490 divided by the difference of both the net present value multiplied by the difference of 20% and 13%. You are getting 25.6%. And mind you, whenever you have to calculate IRR and MIRR, first calculate IRR, then MIRR. Okay, for MIRR, the formula is given in a formula sheet, but IRR formula is not given. So IRR formula you should know. You should memorize the formula, right? Now let's go. One note is here. Please read this note. You're unlikely to have used exact discount rates, in which case you may reach a different conclusion. As long as your conclusion is based on your calculations, you will gain credit, whichever discount rates you have used. So it does not matter which discount rate you use. Conclusion, what you are reaching based on that calculation, that this thing is you will get marks. Now let's go to MIRR. This is the formula, right, of MIRR. First portion, numerator portion is present value of investment phase. That is this 3,800. This year 0, whatever is in year 0, that will be on your numerator. Okay, and addition of all the other 4 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, that will go down, right? So present value of return phase plus net present value. In short, right, net present value are you getting 1490, right? And your initial investment you're getting 3,800. If you add both, you will get the present value of the return phase, which is 5290, right? So this you can use. Okay, add your investment phase with your net present value using that which discount rate, 13%. Yes, when you add your net present value with your initial investment, you will get the present value of the return phase, which is 5290, right? Or the other thing which you can do is you can add, I'm sorry, not all this three, you have to add this column. If you add this column, still you will get 5290. You could do it like that also, or you could just add your initial investment with your net present value, still you will get the same amount. So MIRR, you take the return phase up 5290 and initial investment down, divide by 1 to the power 4 because number of year is 4, right? 1 plus RE, R is your discount factor, 13%. Minus 1, so 22.7%. So just check, your IRR is 25.6 MIRR is 22.7%. Another thing is your MIRR will be less than IRR. IRR will be greater than MIRR. This is another thing you have to remember, right? So now let's see. Just writing is not enough. You have to state what the answer means. So let's see. IRR assumes that positive cash flows are reinvested and earned a return at the same rate as purchase IRR. This you should know. The sentence you should remember. MIRR assumes positive cash flows are reinvested at cost of capital. Assumption is more reasonable. The assumption is more reasonable. Which assumption? MIRR. And the result produced is consistent with the net present value. MIRR result is consistent with the net present value. Because if you check the discount rate also, MIRR is 22.7%, which is close to 13% compared to this 25.6. 25.6 is even more away from that 13% discount factor, right? So the higher discount factor you use, you are going to get a negative net present value, right? In short. So the assumption is more reasonable at which? At the MIRR rate. Because this is consistent. MIRR is consistent with net present value. So process zeta should be adopted as a result, although the difference between the two projects is not significant. Project zeta has to be, they are saying zeta. They are not saying this omega. Okay, we'll see. Where zeta? Let's go to zeta. So zeta's IRR is 26.6% and MIRR is 23.3%, right? Even though the difference is not significant, they are saying that they should be accepted. Because if you check IRR of omega is 25.6, whereas IRR of zeta is 26.6, which is more, and MIRR is 23.3% for zeta, but here it is 22 point, here it is less for omega, 22.7. So that has to be taken. Process zeta, whichever is having higher IRR and MIRR, both is higher in zeta compared to omega, even though that difference is very small. Now let's go to part C, right? So part C, they are saying at 99% confidence level requires VR to be 2.33 standard deviation from the mean based on a single tail measure. This will be fixed. At 99%, it will be 2.33 into standard deviation only. So 2.33 into standard deviation. Standard deviation is given as 800,000. This is your annual. This is your single period. For your 5-year, multiply this annual value at risk into 5 square 5 to the power 0.5 means square root of 5 only. Okay, when you take in your calculator, take square root of 5. It's easier to work out in square root of 5, because to find 5 to the power 5 to the power half, right, most of you will not be able to calculate it with your calculator. I'm not sure, but square root of 5 is the easier way, right? It's a safe side. We all know how to work square root. So 5 to the power half or square root of 5 is the same thing only, right? They're saying it's square root of 5. 5 because it's for 5 years, square root of number of years. So that is the formula. From your formula, you should know the formula of value at risk also. It will not be given to you in exam, so you are getting this, right? Now, what it means, you have to explain. So this is your explanation part, this whole thing. Okay, so this means that L4 can have 99% confident that the cash flow will not fall by more than this 1864 in 1 year, or this one in total over the 5-year period. This means that it can be 99% sure that the returns will be at least 2.2 minus 1864, that is 336,000 each year, right? Or the company can also be 99% sure that the total 5-year return will be at least this much, 11 million minus this. There is only a 1% chance that the returns will be less than 336,000 each year, or 6.8 million in total, right? So we have to see what is this 2.2 and this 11 million, right? So that this 11 million is basically the 2.2 into 5. So what is that 2.2 from where we got? We need to go up. So this is question 15, right? Yes. So the annual return is this. This is the annual return, by the way. You have to multiply it by 5 to get for the 5 years. That's why you are getting 11 million, right? You have to minus that with this value at risk, right? Now part C, you have to talk about risk and uncertainty and the drawbacks, right? So the risk is most commonly dealt with by using expected value analysis, which involves assigning probabilities to all possible outcomes. The major drawback is that, so you have to talk about the major drawbacks of expected value. So the major drawback is that the assignment of probabilities is highly subjective. Is it easy to assign probabilities? No, right? What are we basing our probabilities on? It is highly subjective. This method is also not suitable for a one-off project. Can we use expected value for one-off project? How can we work with the probabilities? For probabilities, to assign probabilities, remember that it has to be on a continuous basis. It has to be frequently something should happen for you to assign a probability. Let's say that there's a 100% chance that the sun will rise from east, right? Why is that? Because it has been happening all the years and it's 100%, right? When you toss a coin, there's a 50% chance that there'll be head or a tail, right? Why is that? Because it keeps happening, it keeps repeating. Something needs to be repeated for you to assign probabilities. One of project, you cannot assign probability. So for that, expected value will not work. So this method also is not suitable for one of project, as it may give an expected value that it is not possible. It also does not indicate the maximum loss or the probability of making a loss, right? Expected value does not talk about the maximum loss or the probability. What is the probability that it can make a loss? So factors which will impact manager decision making when they consider project risk. Of course, when a manager look for the project risk, they need to consider these factors, but expected value will not look into those factors. So that is a disadvantage. Now let's go to the another one. Now, you see, one thing you need to see here is how beautifully they have divided this into different paragraphs. Please look into this matter. The way you write is also important, not just what you write, but the way you show your answer. You need to present your answer it should be up to a standard. It has to be presented in proper headings, subheadings, paragraphs, different points, one point under one in one paragraph. That's how I used to write my answer. Even if that one point I write in one sentence, it will be in different paragraph. Now clearly I know that one point is covered in one paragraph. When I go to next paragraph, I know that is talking about another point, the second point. But if I write it, merge, and I write everything in one paragraph, how will I know which from where my point ends and where my point, the other point, second point starts? I will not know, right? So for that, please maintain paragraphs. Now, second one. Uncertainty can be dealt with using a variety of methods. One of this, first they talked about risk, now they are talking about uncertainty, right? You need to talk about uncertainty. We'll take you to the requirements once again. The problem is this. Okay. So just look at the last requirement. They are saying, apart from the use of VAR, briefly explain the method that Alpha can use to deal with risk and uncertainty in investment appraisal and their drawbacks. 5 marks. So risk and uncertainty. Don't forget about that, risk and uncertainty, and don't keep on talking about risk or uncertainty. You need to balance both and you need to talk. You are getting 5 marks. So uncertainty can be dealt. Okay, so one of this is sensitivity analysis. So this is the second one, which deals with uncertainty. Now you cannot go and say that sensitivity analysis deals with risk and expected value deals with uncertainty. You cannot switch it like that. You have to know which one measures what. So risk is expected values for risk, sensitivity analysis is for uncertainty. Okay, so one of this is sensitivity analysis. This involves altering the variables in the investment appraisal and seeing how this affects the outcome. We all know what sensitivity analysis is. So the main drawbacks of the main drawbacks of what sensitivity analysis. The main drawbacks are that variables are looked at in isolation, but in reality they may be independent, and that it does not assess the likelihood of the changes in the variables occurring. Maybe in reality the factors which we think, you know, they are dependent, maybe they are independent. They don't have any impact on the result. It could happen. And also, when we work out on sensitivity analysis, what we do, we only change one variable and we keep all the other variables constant. But in reality, there may be two, three variables which are changing together, which is affecting that result. So we will not be able to capture that. So that is one drawback. And finally, let's go to payback, right? Payback. This is an investment appraisal technique, by the way, right? Other than net present value, that was the requirement. So payback and discounted payback can be used to determine how long it will take to recover the initial cost of investment. Major drawback, you need to talk about drawback of each, right? So the major drawback is that the any cash flows after payback has occurred are ignored, right? Basically, you need to know the advantages and disadvantages of each method or model with whatever you study to answer this type of question. So that's it. Next we have question 15, right? That is also a very beautiful question. So that's it for question 14. Please try to do these questions on your own once again. Take time and do it without looking at the answer. Time yourself and do this type of questions. The more you do this type of questions you practice, the more better and better and better and faster you will become. You yourself will see the result, right? You will become faster, you will become better, and also you'll be very confident at the end of the paper. Once you attempt, right, you'll be very confident. You exactly know how to pick questions, how to use answers, right? How to use the case study, from which places, how to gather information and write it. All those things, these are the techniques which you need to apply, and you need to work on this. Just memorizing answers will not help you. Just having that knowledge part, knowing everything how to do something is not enough if you are not working on your application skills, if you're not working on the structure of your answer. So all these things needs to be worked out. In fact, I was thinking that I will make a separate video on that also. Once I finish with all the questions, I will make a separate video on how to answer, on the tips and techniques, how to start with, and the structure, the layout of the answer. For a certain type of questions, we have certain types of layouts and all, right? So we'll come up with that type of videos, right? So, which will be helpful for most of the students who are watching my videos and all. So don't forget to share this video with your friends and on your social media, right? And do subscribe to my channel if you're watching my video for the first time, and also check my other videos on my playlist. I have named it in different playlists according to the sections, according to the topic wise. So do check the other videos, and best of luck.